Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning as well in Brazil. So today we have the day 3 of the group phase. So this is the moment when we'll finish actually for this whole group phase. So my name is Aurélien Orange, and together with my colleagues Ms. Urbanova and Mr. Mustafa, will be the host of this match between Dom Elder Law School in Brazil and Sofia University in Bulgaria. Yes, so today I'm not the host. This is Mr. Mustafa who will be the host. Myself, I will be simply drawing the positions a bit later, and I give the floor now to my colleague, Mr. Mustafa.
Yes, thank you for the floor. Hello, everyone. I'm pleased to meet you. My name is David Mustafa, and I'm the editor-in-chief of The Hague International, which is one of the other projects that the CORAX Foundation has launched alongside with the competition that you're participating in. Today, as Mr. Lorange noted, I will be your host, and I will be coordinating basically all the going of the match. First, I would like to start with a round of introductions. So I will be calling your name, and then after I call your name, you can state your name and your affiliation, the team that you're representing. So I will start with Mr. Lafuente.
Good morning to my fellow colleagues in Brazil, greetings to all my European counterparts and your excellencies. My name is Fabrizio Lafuente, and it is a pleasure to be here with you guys today. I'm currently a fourth-year student. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your introduction. Now I proceed with Ms. Donskaya.
Hello there to all my colleagues and to you honorable judges. I'm very glad to see you today. My name is Sofia, and I'm part of the Bulgarian team. I'm a second-year student in International Relations in Sofia University, Bulgaria. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Proceeding with Ms. Rosas.
Hi, good morning to my colleagues in Brazil, and good afternoon to you in Europe. It's a pleasure to be here representing Dom Elder Law School and to compete with you guys.
Thank you very much. Proceeding with Ms. Medzanova.
Hello everyone, my name is Maria Merjanova, and I am currently a second-year International Relations at Sofia University. It is a pleasure to be here, and I wish good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Proceeding with Mr. Sosa.
Greetings everyone, I'm very excited to be in this presentation. My name is Lucas Albanese, and I'm a fourth-year law student. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, with proceeding with Mr. Ristov.
Good morning to our Brazilian colleagues. My name is Bas Christoph, a student in International Relations at the University of Sofia, and I feel privileged to be participating today in this competition.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for your introductions. And now I will restate the topic of the debate, which is governments can force the population to have a healthy lifestyle. Now we will be drawing the wheel, and of course that will decide who will start first and who will continue second. So now I give the floor to Mr. Orange, who will be drawing the wheel, and then we will be having a 5 minutes preparation time.
Yes, so I will share my screen, so you can see the wheel with the different positions, like as well on YouTube for the judge. So now you should see my screen with two possibilities for Dom Elder to be in favor and against, and two possibilities for Sofia University to be in favor and against as well. So we just click and we'll know. So this is Sofia University will be against the motion, so it means Dom Elder as a law school as a consequence will be in favor and will be as well starting the debate. So it means Dom Elder Law School will defend the motion that governments can force the population to have a healthy lifestyle. On the other side, Sofia University will defend the position that the government cannot force population to have a healthy lifestyle. So now I will stop sharing my screen, and then I will be giving you 5 minutes to review maybe your notes. So in 5 minutes we'll be starting with Dom Elder Law School.
All right, so the time is up. Now I would like to invite the representative from THIULDT University to start their round of introductions. You have 4 minutes, and of course I wish good luck to both of the teams.
Thank you. First of all, am I audible and visible? Thank you. Public health is a juridical matter. According to Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, every individual has the fundamental right to an adequate standard of living for the health of himself and of his family, including food, medical care, social services, and security in circumstances beyond his control. Your Excellencies, my name is Fabrício Lafuente, and with that premise in mind, alongside my fellow colleagues Laura Rosas and Lucas Sabanes, we defend the thesis that governments must, even if indirectly, force the population to have a healthy lifestyle. For this purpose, this presentation is based on the following ideas. Firstly, the regulatory framework to advise the governments to induce a healthy lifestyle. First and foremost, a healthy diet is the most effective way to prevent diseases and maintain high immunity levels. Article 12 of the Protocol of San Salvador stipulates that every human being has the right to adequate nutrition, which guarantees the possibility of the highest physical, emotional, and intellectual development. Likewise, the Agenda 2063 from the African Union gathers a series of plans to implement better healthcare systems and avoid undernourishment levels in the continent. As reviewed in the latest report, several countries had positive impacts when adopting those incentives. In addition, the Food and Agriculture Organization created in 2004 a series of progressive policies related to a healthy nutrition in the context of national food security. All of these dispositions only highlights the subjective right for a healthy lifestyle. Secondly, an emblematic arbitration case worth mentioning is the case number ARB 10/7, judged by the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. In this particular dispute, Philip Morris Brands, which is the largest tobacco company in the world, alleged that the government of Uruguay was violating an international agreement of investments by enacting and also discouraging the consumption by enacting a law regulating over cigarette packages, which had to contain the warnings about the negative effects of smoking. The arbitration chamber then decided that the country was acting correct in advising its population and that there was no violation of any international agreement. Other successful national policies to improve the population's quality of life are the Pedestrians' Day, or Dia del Peatón in Bolivia, where the only means of transportation allowed in some areas of cities is walking or cycling, and the initiatives from the Dutch government to promote the use of bicycles in the country. Lastly, it is clear that nowadays, constitutions and international sources of law aim to map behavior towards a broad economic interference through regulations, incentives, and plans, embracing a trend to rupture with the classical constitutional neutrality. Economic rights and sustainable development, when regulated in conventions and constitutions, shape the political decision-making in the national and international arenas. Economic rewards, state aid, selectivity criterion for tax purposes, green economy policies, labeling requirements, and broad consumers' rights are some of the examples of direct interferences in the economy to, to ensure the exercise of human rights. That's why we defend that governments, through binding regulation, can force the population to have a healthy lifestyle. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your submissions. Now I would like to invite the representative from Sofia University to start their introduction. Equally, you have 4 minutes of time.
Firstly, am I audible and visible? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this debate. My name is Sofia Danskaya, and today with my colleagues Maria Marjanova and Spas Christoph, we will defend the motion that governments cannot force the population to have a healthy lifestyle. Honorable judges, we live in an era when fundamental rights are of the highest value. Numerous movements for protection of our private and family lives have taken place in recent years. This type of movements are advocating for our true freedom. This right is also mentioned in Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, and the way we maintain our personal way of living is a huge part of it. Legal coercion, according to Stuart Mill, is society's most severe rejection of very heinous behavior. It should never be employed carelessly. It should be only used to avoid the most severe and obvious harms to society. To clarify and to be as precise as possible, we, as today's opposition, have structured our case as follows. Firstly, we will observe the matter through the perspective of the senseless restriction of the consumer freedom. We believe that pursuing a healthy lifestyle must be a matter of personal choice, where the government has no business in attempting to regulate our health because it is our own responsibility. Such measures restrain the gastronomical freedom of individuals and are an unacceptable invasion into people's personal life, and they are also bluntly paternalistic. As a proof for that, our second speaker will introduce legislative framework of the matter. Secondly, we will continue by showing the insufficiency of the nanny state, because not only it is wrong to restrict personal responsibility, but that if you encourage people to stop taking responsibility for themselves and to start relying on the government, a culture of reliance is being created. Thirdly, we will go into further detail about the economics when we address the probable reduction of income to different industries due to legal restrictions. Moreover, we will argue that individual national preventive health policies can be opposed by market globalization and the powerful financial interests of the giant corporations in the food sector and elsewhere. Once again, we will support the argument with case law. This leads us to our last argument, that the conditions in which people are born, grow, live, work, and age, and the wider set of forces and systems shapes the conditions of our daily life. They have the significant and lasting impact on the individual well-being. Some social factors have clear causal paths to the diseases. In fact, much of the factors responsible for our overall well-being is beyond our individual control. The US Center for Disease Control estimates that only 25% of the population health is determined by health behaviors, genes, and biology combined. Over 80% of the world's 1.3 billion tobacco users live in low and middle income countries. Honorable judges, actions upon our private life and restricting us has never been and never should be an action undertaken by a government. And for all those reasons, this motion should fall. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your submissions. Now it's time for the first round of rebuttals. Each team will have 2 minutes. We will start with Dom Helder. So I invite the representative from Dom Helder to start their first rebuttal.
First of all, am I visible and audible? Am I visible and audible?
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry. Thank you. Your Excellencies, it is important to stress that although this thesis uses expressly the power of enforceability in order to achieve a healthy lifestyle, it is imperative for us to recognize how it can be democratically and legitimately carried out by states. The Constitution of the World Health Organization envisages the highest attainable standard of health as a fundamental right of every human being. And many countries around the world have been complying with this human right to health by providing practical actions addressing the improvement of well-being, strengthening self-contained regimes, and national binding regulations. As an example, the European Union has strict regulations for the placement of genetically modified food in its community market. On the same pathway, the African Union, in an executive decision, stated for the need of organic farming and seed quality for the development of Africa. On the national level, there is a bundle of regulation to tackle unhealthy habits, prohibiting behaviors that would endanger collective health, such as those in the United States enacted towards schools by setting limits of fat, sodium, calorie to all products sold in its cafeterias. Also, there are smoke-free provisions in all countries of the international community, An important case is that in 2014, a German Düsseldorf court ordered a smoker to move out of his own flat since he was unable to impede his smoke to speed away into the hallway of his apartment block. All of these regulations are a clear evidence of a legitimate and democratic enforceability towards healthy habits. Thank you.
Thank you for your submissions. And now I would like to invite the representative from Sofia University to start their first rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
Am I visible and audible again? Great, thank you. Honorable judges, what the affirmative side didn't take into account is that in the 21st century, we are seeking for true democracy. How is it possible to live in a democratic country and be restricted on such a basic and private thing as, for example, food? Such changes are highly discriminatory. We believe that the focus should be on empowering people to cook healthy food for themselves or tackling body shaming that stigmatizes overweight and underweight people, making it super difficult for them to change their lifestyle. Another point is that we are quite hesitant that such regulations would even work. Sometimes big companies manage to bypass the law by false advertising. What is presented to us as healthy often turns out to be even more harmful. Such scenario was faced in front of the U.S. District Court of California in the Hartley versus Kellogg Sales Corporation case, where the defendant was pleaded guilty for misleading statements on defendant's food product packages. Another example is the food advertising statements in Australia, which are regulated under a complex mix of statutory regulations. But the statistics shows that those regulations fail to protect from exposure to unhealthy food advertising. Once more, we are stating that such measures restrain the freedom of choice and are unacceptable invasion into people's personal lives, which obviously restricts their options on taking responsibility themselves and be the ones who they are aiming to be. It is no secret that everyone is different, and healthiness is a highly subjective topic. It is very probable that if such paternalistic legislation would be imposed, values will not be shared by some portion of the population. Thank you.
Thank you for your submissions. Now it's the round for the second rebuttal. I would like to invite the representative from Domhelder to submit their second rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
Am I visible and audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, body shaming is unacceptable, but what we are talking here is about the right to health, which is a collective right. My counterparts have not considered that the countries have the duty not only to protect, but also to promote the health of their population. As an example, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as the American Convention on Human Rights, establishes there are relative human rights that can be limited by states due to health issues. These rights are like freedom of movement and residence, freedom to manifest religion, freedom to the right of association and assembly. And this limits, these rights have even the extraordinary possibility for states to evoke the derogation of these rights in times of public emergency. Such it was prescribed in the Article 4 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Individual health surely affects the national health systems as a whole, and states must act accordingly to protect the collective rights, such as the right to access the national health systems. Besides, through the indirect interference in the economic sector, states are fully competent to reduce the offer of unhealthy food and their marketing exposure, which leads the population, through regulation, to behaviors previously designed by binding norms. Thank you.
Thank you for your submission. And now I would like to invite the representative from Sofia University to submit their second rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
Before I start, am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Okay. Dear ladies and gentlemen, what the other team did not consider when they claimed that governments have to promote healthy lifestyle by regulation and limits is that in many countries the legislative framework contains a broad catalogue of individual rights and freedoms that would conflict with any attempts by the government to impose strict regulation in areas concerning healthy lifestyle. A striking example in this respect is the United States, where individual rights and freedoms are widely embraced and such initiatives end in failure. This can be clearly seen in many court cases, such as in the matter of New York statewide coalition of Hispanic Chambers of Commerce versus New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, number 134, Court of Appeals of New York. Also, the globalization of the market and the powerful financial interests of giant corporations in the food sector and elsewhere can oppose individual national preventative health policies, and often through lobbying and even corruption practices, they are able to prevent the adoption of such market and profit restrictive policies. The American Beverage Association, Coca-Cola, and other beverage producers have lobbied frequently against cities that propose taxes. For example, in June 2018, the beverage industry successfully funded a campaign in California that banned the implementation of new local sugary beverage taxes across the state until 2031. Also, we believe that the establishment of coercion of the population to lead a healthy lifestyle by the government is a sure prerequisite for the development of parallel and, of course, smuggling economy and grey economy and organized crime. Examples of similar negative consequences of such coercion can be found both historically and also today. For example, the prohibition in the United States from 1920 to 30 coast never reached levels of smuggling before. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your submission. Now it's time for conclusion. So I would like to invite the representative from Dom Helder University to submit their conclusion. You have 2 minutes.
First of all, am I visible and audible?
Yes.
Finally, Your Excellencies, may I recap all that was established to support the enforceability of healthy lifestyle through binding regulation. Firstly, the thesis of enforceability shall be reasonably comprehended as to embrace democracy, the rule of law, and sustainable societies. Governance entails the policies and decision-making process which enables to shape individual behavior for the common good and to ensure the effectiveness of collective human rights through binding legislation. On the international level, several examples of hard law were offered to demonstrate the importance of the right to health, which supersedes the individualistic perspective of civil and political rights. Collective rights, such as this one, entails the positive obligations for states to comply with, disrupting the idea of international law, mainly prescribing omissions and non-interference in the juridical status of the people. The rule of law and democratic laws stipulate the necessity not to arbitrarily interfere with the first dimension of human rights, which is not the case discussed here. Collective rights legitimize the enforceability of prescribed regulations issued in accordance with the due process to preclude and abolish conduct which may endanger or mitigate public services, especially the access to national health services. Those are the blatant juridical aspect that holds the thesis, supported by participatory democracy, the due diligence, and the good governance. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your conclusion. Now I would like to invite the representative from Sofia University to also submit their conclusion. You have 2 minutes.
Am I audible and visible? Honorable judges, distinguished colleagues, before I proceed with the conclusion, I would like to thank the opposing team for their arguments. I will have the privilege of concluding our team's line of reasoning on why governmental coercive paternalism is absolutely unwarranted should it concern so intrinsically private matters one's lifestyle. I would like to emphasize that significant flaw of state regulation is that paternalist policies enable individuals to attain the ends that a certain segment of the population wants, be it the majority or those in power, with the result that many who do not share those ends are nonetheless forced to comply with them, or in the very least suffer the disagreeable effects. Furthermore, coercive limitation of food choices, for instance, would be unjustified because they target individual behaviors and are grounded in a certain conception of health that not everyone shares. We would also argue that the dominant cultural paradigm of health, so-called healthism, oversimplifies the causes of pathology and unjustifiably focuses solely on lifestyle and behavior. In fact, a wide range of factors regarding our overall well-being are beyond our individual control. The aforementioned by my colleagues, social determinants of health, defined by the World Health Organization in 2019, which actually have significant and lasting impacts on individual well-being. Instead, we would suggest that the state use its regulatory authority to address the ways in which the social and environmental context negatively affects its residents. To put it in other words, states ought to be pursuing amelioration of industry practices, not individuals' behavior. Which leads me to my last point, that regulatory intervention in this context would blatantly violate the private sphere of the individual and defy some of the values that define us as a society: personal freedom, choice, and liberty. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your conclusion. All right, so that sums it up. We can conclude the match here. Thank you very much to everyone for their arguments and the obvious effort that was put into this. We will now give some time to reflections, and of course I would like to kindly ask each participant to give their perspective on the match, and then after I will continue with the organizers and of course the coach. So starting with Mr. Lafuente, what do you think about the match?
I think it was a very productive match. This is a very important topic to talk about, and it was a pleasure to debate with you guys from Bulgaria. Nice to meet you.
Great. Ms. Donskaya?
It was a huge pleasure for me to meet all of you today. I was actually very excited for today's match, and I believe everyone did so good. We prepared so well for it, so thank you for it.
Glad to hear that. Ms. Rosas?
I'd like to thank the organization and also my counterparts. It was a pleasure to be here today to compete and also to learn.
Ms. Merzanova?
Yeah, I'm really excited. It was a great pleasure for me to participate, and again, good luck to everyone. The topic was really interesting, and I hope everyone have a good time here. Thank you.
Mr. Tabanes?
I would like to thank everyone with such an outstanding debate, such good arguments. I hope everyone has a chance to publish their arguments, and I thank you very much for the debate.
Lastly, Mr. Christoph?
Yes, I want to thank once again everyone for their arguments. It was a pleasure for me to debate with all of you, and it was certainly a worthwhile experience.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for your feedback. Now I would like to ask the coach, Dr. Bastianetto, if she has any feedback.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mustafa. Thank you very much, my fellow colleague, Professor Luhanj. It's a pleasure being here, and it's a pleasure to get to know Sofia delegation. Thank you very much for this competition. The topic's extremely fruitful, so good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, before passing the floor to the organizers, I have to make the usual announcement. Of course, as the editor-in-chief, I have to promote the Hague International. So in that sense, I would like to welcome all of you, all the participants here, who of course put a lot of effort into this match and to these arguments. And I would like to say that you have a chance to, of course, publish your arguments. You can do that on a group basis, so you can submit a piece. It can be short, it doesn't have to be super shiny and elaborate, it can be up to 1,000 words. And basically you can just take the arguments that you compiled for the match and present them in a written publication. Of course, that would be very beneficial for you because it would be a valuable addition to your CV, and at the same time, you would be promoted in all our platforms. We are basically using all the social media platforms so far, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Of course, we have the website. So in that sense, your name and your work would be recognized among the legal community and the vast network that we have. So don't be discouraged. Please feel more than welcome to do so. Me and my team will be more than happy to take you through every step in order to reach the full potential for your publication and this argument. Without being explained, I would like to thank you everyone again for your participation. I wish you good luck for the rest of the competition. And now I will give the floor to Mr. Louange.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. It's an opportunity to publish because yeah, you work on both positions, so it's perfect to write on in an article. So yes, very good quality in terms of debate today. That was very much into indeed all the possible levels of legislation, treaties as well. So what I could tell is so. During the next days, we'll do as fast as possible, because we have 3 judges, obviously, 3 judges of different nationalities, to make sure that they give their assessment in a way that you can receive the forms, and as well we can publish the results, because the 8th of finals are coming very soon, so in 2 weeks as well, as usual. But this time it's not just, I would say, giving the results, it's as well to tell you if first you are qualified, and as well who is your opposing team. So it is a team from another group. So this is the reason why we need to inform, of course, the teams, and as well to make sure that everything is arranged in terms of time difference, etc. So that will come this week, because of course then there will be enough time with the topic. So this is on our side as organizers. For the rest, yes, it is of course a moment when we are extremely strict on the time in the organization, but later obviously there will be 8th of finals and quarterfinals, less and less match to administer on our side, so it means to be easier as well to get let's say less judge as well to judge all the match. So that's all I could tell on my side. Of course, another thing, yes, there will be as well a networking event between all the teams online. We'll try to match as much as possible all the time zones in a decent way, let's say, to avoid that it takes place in the middle of the night for some teams. But yes, there will be soon information about it. It's getting prepared at this moment. Our team is working on this, but you will meet as well all the other teams from all the other continents, so in a way that you can do some networking as well between those students. So now the floor to my colleague, Mr. Manova.
Indeed, thank you very much, and I just want to congratulate both teams. Indeed, it's the last day of the group phase of the competition. You did well on your previous match and as well as today's match. It's been a pleasure to listen to your arguments and see how you executed your research in practice. To follow up on my colleague, what he said, in terms of networking event, indeed, with the smaller amount of matches, there is more time to prepare and coordinate different time zones that we have in the for the participants of the competition. So no matter the results of the group phase, we hope to see both teams in the networking event. It will be an opportunity to meet the teams that you previously debated against, and perhaps you even met during the workshops, and to establish connections, especially in the times where the world was on pause for travel for over 2 years now. So definitely make use of the opportunity and meet both the fellow students as well as potential professors from other universities.
Yes, So indeed, it's a networking for your studies, for your career. I mean, my colleague, Dr. Bastianetto, knows that I really want students to connect on very long term in general. So thank you again. Thanks to both teams in Bulgaria and as well in Brazil. And yes, you will hear from us very soon by email with the forms from the free judge. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye to all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor Lohanj. Thank you, Dr. Mustafa.
Bye-bye.
Right.